Hello, my name is Beca and I'm here today at the Portmerion Group kitchen showroom to cook you some delicious recipes. You may remember me from the Great British Bake Off, but since then I'm now a chef at Borough Market and I also have my own cookery show on S4C called Beca. Today I'm going to cook you some delicious savoury Welsh cakes using some cheddar cheese and leek, and I'll be using the beautiful Botanic Garden range. To start, I'm going to use some self-raising flour. Now this is my nan's recipe, and her traditional recipe is one that I grew up eating, making and loving. But I've adapted it so that we can make it into a savoury Welsh cake. And the main change is that I've just taken out the sugar. I'm going to pop in some salted butter, and also I'm going to get some cheddar cheese ready, and a pinch of salt. And a pinch of pepper. Now I'm just going to rub the butter into the flour. What I'm looking for is some rough breadcrumbs. I find it very therapeutic rubbing butter into flour, unless the children are at my feet. I'm not working the flour too much, but just making sure that any larger bits of butter is rubbed in. Right, in goes the cheddar. Now it looks like there's a lot, but it's lovely. Just going to mix this through with a knife. And now in here, I have some sautéed leeks that are now cooled. All I did was just chop up a small leek and lightly sauté it in a little bit of butter and a pinch of salt. I've made these Welsh cakes before using Caerphilly cheese and some Carmarthenshire ham, which is very similar to Parma ham. That was delicious. You can also make it with Stilton or goat's cheese. I've also made it with feta cheese, olives and sun-dried tomatoes. So great way of using up any leftovers that you might have in the fridge. Right, so let's just crack an egg. I've already got a little drop of milk in the jug. I was worried at first if my nan would approve of savoury Welsh cakes, but she loves them, thank goodness. There we go, that's the egg. I'm also just going to put in just a good tablespoon of olive oil. This just adds flavour, but also helps to bind. And lastly, the egg. Now, using a knife, just bring it all together, cut through the mixture. This is how I was taught to bake, using a knife and a bowl, no fancy gadgets. Easy baking. The leeks smell delicious. They're really sweet and they'll go lovely with the cheese. The stronger the cheese, the better. If you're thinking of what cheese you could use, as I mentioned, goat's cheese or Stilton work well. If you're going to use cheddar, make sure it's mature or vintage cheddar. So just get in there with your hands now and start bringing the dough together. The Botanic Garden range just reminds me of growing up when I was little at home. Mum and Dad have got a Welsh dresser full of plates and bowls and tureens. It just looks beautiful in their kitchen. Just reminds me of home. What you're looking for is a mixture that's not too sticky and not too dry. And it might look like I'm working it quite a bit here, but I'm just making sure I'm gathering all the little bits at the bottom of the bowl. And it feels lovely to touch. As I said, not too sticky or too dry. Right, so next we're going to roll out and cut our Welsh cakes. I always tear a small piece off to roll. That means I can control the thickness and that I'm not overworking all the dough. Just flour your top. What you're looking for is around a centimetre thickness. You can make these any size. I sometimes make mine really small, just inch rounds, perfect as canapes with a dollop of chutney on top. And then I've also made them quite large, so at least 3 to 4 inches. Have them for lunch with a poached egg on top. So good, very, very good. Make sure you move your dough, otherwise it'll just stick. In we go with the cutter. Just tear another piece off and roll out. Don't want to make them too thick, otherwise they'll still be raw in the middle. And because we've used self-raising flour, it will puff up ever so slightly as they cook. And the way we're going to cook these is in the frying pan. If I was home, I have my bake stone, which I use often for different things. I have my Mam Gees, my Welsh grandmother's old cast iron bake stone. It's really heavy, so I've treated myself to a more lightweight one. Slightly easier to cart around. You can make the Welsh cakes up to this point and then pop them in the fridge if you're strapped for time. So now I've got this beautiful frying pan warming up, ready to do the Welsh cakes. At home I normally use my bake stone, but seeing as though we're in Portmerion, I just happened to find this lovely Sophie Conran frying pan very handy. So I'm just going to grease the pan lightly with a little bit of butter. Be careful because it is hot. And now, as with pancakes, the first batch you have to test the heat of the pan. And so it's on really hot with me here. And because it's an induction hob I've got here, the heat is going to be even. But home I have a gas hob and I have to be very careful that my Welsh cakes are around the edge, which is where the heat is even. So we're going to do 4 at a time, and don't be tempted to turn them too early. And the colour you're looking for is a beautiful nut brown, as my nan would describe. The heat is medium to high. It just gives a chance for the cakes to cook thoroughly, and then after about 2 to 3 minutes you're going to flip them over and cook the other side. Right, these are now ready to come off the heat. Got a lovely even colour. As I said, for lunch, a couple of these with a poached egg would be delicious. But we're going to serve these today with a little bit of chutney. Top tip, keep an eye on your heat. You don't want to ruin these Welsh cakes now. Once the pan is up to temperature, just try and keep it at that temperature. Don't let it go too hot, otherwise they'll burn and you'll be very upset. Just going to serve these today with a little bit of shop bought chutney, but needs must. Delish. So good.